Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the Wurkkos HD01-PRO EDC torch. If you have a look, those guys have a lot of torches to fit different needs. We are absolutely obsessed in this household with torches, and I couldn't be more happy when they offered me to have a look at one of those. This torch is not particularly the smallest torches for EDC, but it does have a whole lot of functions. So without further ado guys, let's open it up and have a look. So there we are. So it comes in its own little box. Right, and the back in here, right, it gives you some basic specifications. So it tells you the lumens depending on what settings you're using. And you got a little bit more information in terms of the current, the voltage, the power. It tells you it's the IP65 rated, and it gives you a beam distance between 1 meter and 157 meters, which is actually rather good. So if I open this up now, slide this open and get the box undone. Right, so first thing here we have is a little notice to tell you that the torch comes locked when it's in transit. So that means you have to press the forward button 4 times to unlock this before you can use that properly. Comes with a manual, right, which we'll have a look later because that has a lot of functions. So we have a little strap, which is again rather handy as well. We have a USB Type-C charging cable, and then of course we'll have our torch itself. So there we are. Look, it is rather smart. I've got to say, I do really like the idea that it's actually square. I know the average torches are generally sort of round, and they do have them options to buy Wurkkos torches round, but I do like the idea that it is square, because to me, for the uses I use and for the potential places I will put it, I will prefer this to be sort of squared off. But at the same time, the reason they've done this because they do have a little side light, which we'll demonstrate you later, that has quite a lot of options. But nonetheless, here we go. It's pretty cool. It's aluminium. It is very light. It only weighs 100 grams. You do have yourself a belt clip in here, and you've got another clip which you can put yourself on the cap if you do want it to do that. Obviously, you have yourself the front of the torch, you've got the laser there and 2 different torches options. You have your charging port on the side with a little rubber to cover this up to make sure it is waterproof. And of course, the other thing I like about it does have only 2 buttons to control that. And you might think, well, an average torches just have like 1 or 2 buttons anyway, but just wait until you see how many options this little torch has. It's just absolutely brilliant. So before we proceed into what it does as well, a good point, it actually has the magnetic back. So because you do have this side light, it depending what you're doing, if you're somewhere that you require something, you know, something to hold, to shine onto something, so you can just basically just magnet that torch, put it on, okay, and it just basically gives you a hands-free option of using that little torch. So right, let's now have a look, put this down, and let's have a look at the manual. So manual is rather big, okay, because it does come in different languages, but okay, so right, this is the amount of options you have for the torch. It basically have a combination of pressing your button. So you have the forward button and the rear button, which is forward one being one at the front and the rear button here. But you can see by pressing the different combinations, you can achieve a lot of different torches functions. And I understand that is somewhat initially a little bit confusing, but once you choose the options you want to use as a torch, you'll quickly learn. It becomes like a second nature. So let's now, guys, go through the functions. I will be referring to my manual because I haven't learned them just yet. But nonetheless, the first things first, if we press the front button once, it gives us a green laser. If we hold this on, it now gives us a side light and says ramping. So if I hold it, you can see it's starting to change its color, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And then if we have 2 clicks, okay, it gives us option to flash. So now, right, if I turn this off and we do 2 clicks, okay, we have the floodlight on. Yeah. So if I now hold the button, you can see we have numerous degrees of brightness, which I think is really good. And now we do 3 clicks, and it gives us a flashing light. It is pretty cool. I can imagine actually one of the scenarios in how to say it, an emergency scenario where you might want to use that, but it's a little bit of fun for the kids as well. It's, again, not everybody will be using those kind of functions, but the point is they're there and they are easily accessible. So if I do 2 clicks now, and we have a little waterfall. Again, it's pretty cool. And then 2 clicks again, and it gives us droplets that change color. Again, it's something is, if you say go camping, you've got children, potentially your kids like to have a little bit of the ambient lighting, it's just a pretty good function. So if we now press the button 5 times, it gives you what they call a breathing. So the lights at the front, you can see, are lit up. So if you do leave your torch somewhere in the dark and you want to be able to see this right away, I think this is a pretty handy little function. So now we're moving on to the back button. So if I hold the back button on now, okay, it gives us what they call a moonlight. So I can turn it off with the same one hold. So if I do this again, the beauty of this, right, we can actually put the laser with that as well, which is rather handy. So if you are pointing somewhere in the dark to point something out, it's quite good to be able to have this with a laser in the middle as well. So now if I do 1 click, okay, we're meant to be having some lights memory. So let's go again. Here we go, look. We can select a different sort of brightness. So you go low, medium, high, and turbo. And once you've left it where you want it to, that's meant to be held in the memory, which is, again, rather handy. So now going to second lot, which is the 2 clicks. And this actually gives us a UV lighting, which is rather handy for certain things. 3 clicks gives us a strobe light, and it does have the a laser in the front as well. And then if we go to 4 clicks, it gives us lock and unlock. Here we go, he's gone into lock mode. So here we go. So this is literally as simple as that. Again, you can see, guys, it is a little bit sort of complicated initially, okay? But the diagram here does really tell you everything you need to know. And as I said, with a little bit of practice, and once you establish what sort of the settings that you want to have, I think it's a pretty good idea. So now if I show you, got a specifications here as well, and it literally gives you all the information you could possibly want in terms of the running times and the lumens. So literally, for every spotlight or floodlight, it tells you how many lumens the brightness is. And at the same time as well, you've got the distances of the beam. So you've got a spotlight, you have a 6 meters, then moves on a low 19, 51 meters, and then goes on the turbo mode for 157 meters, which is, I think, is absolutely brilliant. And then, of course, you've got the side RGB, which is 8 hours, which I think is really good. UV light is 3 hours, and then you've got the green light 13 hours. And then, of course, it gives you some other information there. So guys, there we are. Hopefully they give you a little bit of an idea what this little torch can do. And I gotta say though, it does feel, considering it is only weighs 100 grams, it does feel pretty solid in your hands. I think the fact is because it's aluminium, it's metal, it just have this sort of quality feel. It's nothing worse really than having sort of plastic torch, because these things are sort of don't fit really well and they make weird noises. Having a metal torch is really good. Another big point for me, I think, is having this little side light. And we're not really talking about this strobe necessarily, but the fact is that you do have the side light, which is rather large, and it is pretty bright. And the fact is, if you do require this to be positioned somewhere when you're doing something, you can sort of magnetic to something, and then you have a floodlight above whatever you're doing. But also, you know, the colorful strobes, I think, is a good idea. If you do have children, okay, I think it's pretty fun, especially, as I said, if you're going camping, if your little one does require a little bit of nightlight and you want to have or give it a little bit of color, to have the option to have different colors there, I think is pretty good. Apart from that, the whole idea of the 2-button operation, I think is really good as well. As I said, I think once you go through and you've been using this for a little while, you will just learn. You will learn and understand, because generally with those many functions, you're not necessarily going to be using all of them. I think the whole idea, because there are so many functions, is going to be appealing to different people for different reasons. And so far, having a lot of torches at home, this is the first one that we'll have that actually offers you so many functions for not particularly that great amount of money. So nonetheless, I got to say I'm very much happy with that. As for the size, it only measures 111.5 millimeters in length, 27 in width and 17 in the height. So it is pretty small. So nonetheless, guys, yes, I am pretty happy with that. So I'll put all the details down below. Check this out. And otherwise, guys, well, thank you very much for watching, and I see you soon. Bye-bye.